The mansion was unusually quiet that night, the kind of silence that presses on your chest and makes shadows seem alive. Lila moved through the hallways, her steps measured, every sound amplified in the stillness. She felt the letter's warning echoing in her mind. The past never forgets. Each word clawed at her, a reminder that danger wasn't just a story. They were now living it. Ramsey was in his private office, reviewing old files and financial documents linked to the letter. He paused, eyes narrowing. There were patterns he hadn't noticed before, suspicious transactions, cryptic communications, and names from decades past that had faded from memory. The past, he realized, wasn't just haunting them emotionally. It had a hand in the present, and someone was pulling the strings. Lila entered quietly, holding a cup of tea. She approached him slowly, careful not to break the fragile calm. "I've been thinking," she said softly, "whoever sent that letter, they must know about me. About us. They know the connection." Ramsey looked up sharply, eyes shadowed. "Yes," he admitted. "And that means their goal is deeper than we thought. This isn't just intimidation. It's personal." Suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the mansion. Both flinched. The timing was precise, deliberate. Someone was testing them, sending a message that they were being watched. Lila's heart raced as she exchanged a glance with Ramsey. "Should I answer it?" she whispered. Ramsey shook his head. "No. Not yet. We can't show fear or curiosity. That's what they want." They waited, the silence growing heavy, broken only by the distant tick of a grandfather clock. Minutes passed, each one stretching impossibly long. Then, without warning, a small envelope slid under the door. Lila picked it up, fingers trembling. The handwriting was familiar, elegant, precise, and mocking. She passed it to Ramsey, who opened it with cautious hands. Inside was a photograph, grainy, black, and white. It showed Lila as a child, standing beside a woman Ramsey recognized immediately, his former maid, the woman who had raised her and sent her away under circumstances never fully explained. The image was unsettling, proof that someone had been observing them for years. Beneath it was a note. "You cannot hide from the past. We see everything." Lila's breath caught. "They knew, they always knew," she whispered. Her voice trembled with a mixture of fear and anger. Ramsey's jaw tightened. "Yes. And now they're making sure we understand the stakes." His hand hovered over hers, a silent reassurance that they were in this together. The mansion suddenly felt smaller, claustrophobic, as the invisible enemy pressed closer. Determined not to show weakness, Ramsey moved to the mansion's secure library. He pulled files, letters, and photographs, anything that might offer a clue about who was behind the surveillance. Lila assisted, scanning documents for patterns. Each new piece revealed more about the reach of this shadowy figure. Connections to old family disputes, financial rivalries, and betrayals long buried. The realization hit them both. This was no random threat. It was someone who knew them intimately. Hours passed in tense silence, punctuated only by whispered theories and the occasional rustle of paper. Finally, Ramsey spoke, voice low but steady. "We need a plan. Whoever this is, they've waited decades to strike. But we can't react blindly. We have to be smart, methodical, and united." Lila nodded, her fear tempered by determination. "Then we face it together," she said. Their hands brushed briefly over the papers, a silent vow that no shadow from the past would tear them apart. The night stretched into early morning, the mansion quiet except for the faint whisper of the wind outside. Lila and Ramsey had begun to piece together a timeline of the shadow's influence, yet the identity remained elusive. Whoever had been watching them had planned every step meticulously, and now the duo realized the game had just begun. The first threat had arrived, and it was more personal, more dangerous than either had imagined. The mansion was cloaked in a heavy morning fog, the mountains of Queenstown barely visible through the frost-coated windows. Lila and Ramsey sat at the library table, documents spread out like a battlefield map. Every photograph, every letter, every faint signature whispered a story of betrayal and hidden agendas. Both were exhausted, yet the adrenaline of discovery kept them on edge. They knew the shadow from the past was patient, and now, Ramsay realized, it had been patient for a reason. Lila picked up a ledger, scanning rows of financial transactions. Her eyes narrowed as she noticed a recurring name, a former business associate of Ramsay's father, long thought retired. "This person," she said softly, pointing to the ledger, "they've been moving money through hidden accounts. Look here, it all traces back to the mansion." Ramsay leaned in, examining the entries. "That's not just money," he said grimly. "It's surveillance. They've been funding people to watch us, track our every move." The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of realization pressing down. Whoever had orchestrated this wasn't just interested in the family fortune. They wanted control, leverage, and knowledge of every secret. Lila swallowed hard. "They knew about me," she whispered, almost to herself. "They knew I was your daughter long before I did." Ramsay's jaw tightened, which means they were waiting for the right moment to use it. Suddenly, Ramsay's phone buzzed, a secure line alert. He picked it up, scanning the message. It was short, ominous, and chilling. "Not everyone in your circle is who they seem. Trust no one completely." Lila's heart skipped. The threat was now direct, and it confirmed their worst fear. The shadow had insiders, someone they both knew and trusted. "We need to go through the staff," Ramsay said firmly, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Every single person who has access to the mansion. Every assistant, driver, and employee. Someone here is feeding information." Lila nodded, swallowing her fear. They couldn't afford mistakes. The enemy wasn't distant. It was here, in their home, watching, waiting, and planning. Hours passed as they cross-referenced names, schedules, and access logs. Lila noticed patterns that Ramsay had overlooked, the subtle anomalies in daily routines, the offhand comments from staff, and the way certain employees avoided eye contact. One name kept appearing in connection with all suspicious activity: Alara, Ramsay's trusted house manager. The realization hit them both like a thunderclap. "Alara?" Lila whispered, disbelief mingled with fear. Ramsay nodded slowly. "She's been loyal, or at least appeared to be. But these documents, they can't lie. She knows more than she should. She might even be the one who orchestrated the threats." Lila's pulse quickened. The thought of betrayal by someone so close was almost unbearable. They decided to confront the situation carefully. Lila would monitor the staff discreetly while Ramsay stayed in the study, pretending routine business. Every glance, every interaction was now loaded with suspicion. They couldn't make the first move recklessly. The shadow had patience, and one misstep could put both their lives in danger. As evening fell, Lila noticed Alara lingering near the study, ostensibly arranging files. Something about her movements was deliberate, almost rehearsed. Lila's heart pounded. She signaled Ramsay silently, and together, they observed from the shadows. Every gesture, every subtle glance reinforced what they had suspected. Alara was not merely loyal. She was the inside agent, the one providing the shadow with intimate knowledge of the mansion and its residents. Finally, Ramsay whispered, "We need proof. Something undeniable." Lila nodded. They couldn't act on suspicion alone. The shadow had decades of experience manipulating events. They had to expose Alara carefully, ensuring she couldn't destroy the fragile bond between them. Or worse, endanger their lives. The shadows of the past were no longer just memories. They were alive, breathing, and waiting for the right moment to strike. But for the first time, Ramsay and Lila felt a surge of determination. They had discovered the first piece of the puzzle, unveiled the hidden threat, and were preparing to face the enemy together. The mansion had grown eerily quiet as night fell, the snow outside muffling every sound. Lila and Ramsay moved carefully through the hallways, their senses sharp, alert to every creak of the floorboards. They had spent the day setting a subtle trap, placing documents, staged conversations, and hidden cameras to catch Alara in the act. Every plan depended on precision, patience, and the hope that the insider would take the bait. Lila crouched near the study door, heart pounding, eyes scanning the corridor. The faintest sound, a shuffle of feet, a whisper of movement, made her freeze. "She's here," Ramsay whispered, barely audible, his voice tight with focus. Lila nodded, signaling silently. This was the moment when patience met opportunity, the critical juncture between fear and revelation. Alara entered the study, her movements deliberate, unaware that the father-daughter duo was watching. She approached the desk, picking up files and scanning the documents. Every gesture seemed rehearsed, purposeful. Lila's pulse quickened. Proof was within reach, but one wrong move, one misstep, could shatter everything they had rebuilt. Ramsay and Lila exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. They had to remain hidden, silent, invisible shadows themselves. The hidden camera had already begun recording, capturing Alara's every action. Lila held her breath as she observed, waiting for the crucial moment when Alara would reveal her true intentions. Minutes stretched like hours. Alara's fingers lingered on files that contained sensitive information about Ramsay's finances and family secrets. She muttered to herself, almost unaware, "Everything they think is hidden will be mine." Lila's stomach twisted. Confirmation of motive, proof that the insider threat was real and dangerous. Suddenly, the trap was sprung. Ramsay stepped lightly into the room, voice firm yet calm. "Alara." She spun around, eyes widening in shock, caught in the act. Lila stepped forward, holding the files that had been staged as bait. "We know everything," she said, her tone steady but cold. The mansion's shadows seemed to tighten around them, echoing the tension. Alara's face twisted in anger and fear. "You can't prove anything," she spat, voice sharp. "You'll regret this." Ramsay didn't flinch. "We have proof," he said, gesturing to the hidden camera setup and the carefully staged documents. "Everything is recorded. Every move you made, every word spoken." Lila stepped closer, her eyes blazing. "You underestimated us, and that's why you lost." Alara's fury shifted to desperation. She lunged for the documents, but Ramsay's quick reflexes blocked her. In the struggle, a vase toppled, crashing to the floor, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the quiet mansion. Snowlight from the windows caught the fragments of shattered porcelain, mirroring the tension that had finally exploded. Cornered and realizing escape was impossible, Alara finally admitted under Ramsay's sharp questioning. She had been feeding information to a distant rival who wanted control of the Whitmore family fortune. Her betrayal went beyond mere ambition. It was calculated, patient, and dangerous. Every document she had leaked, every secret she had uncovered, had been part of a larger plan. Lila's hands trembled as she watched the woman she had once trusted crumble under exposure. "All the games, the lies at end tonight," she said, voice low but firm. Ramsay nodded, his expression a mix of relief and lingering anger. They had caught the shadow in their midst, the first step toward reclaiming safety and trust within the mansion. The mansion returned to an uneasy quiet. Outside, snow continued to fall, masking the footprints of a confrontation that would forever change the household. Ramsay and Lila stood together, hands brushing in silent affirmation. The trap had worked, the threat neutralized for now, but the shadows of the past were still there, waiting for the next opening. The snow outside Ramsay's Queenstown mansion had softened to a quiet drizzle, turning the world into a muted canvas of gray and white. Inside, Lila and Ramsay were recovering from the tension of Alara's betrayal. The house felt lighter without the constant threat of an insider, yet both knew danger still lurked in unseen corners. It was during this fragile calm that the doorbell rang, a sharp, deliberate chime that cut through the quiet like a blade. Lila exchanged a cautious glance with Ramsay. "Who could that be at this hour?" she whispered. Ramsay's hand instinctively went to the small desk drawer where he kept a security button. "Let's find out carefully," he said, voice low but steady. Together, they moved toward the door, every step deliberate, every instinct alert. The visitor was unexpected, a tall man with salt and pepper hair, dressed in a well-tailored coat, eyes sharp and calculating. He held a briefcase, and his expression was a mixture of determination and wariness. "Mr. Whitmore?" he asked politely. "My name is Daniel Cross. I believe I can help you with the situation involving your household." Lila's brows furrowed in suspicion. "And why would we trust you?" she asked. Daniel's lips curved into a faint smile. "Because I have no reason to harm you, and I have knowledge that even your most secret adversary does not expect you to possess." He produced a folder from his briefcase, documents, photographs, and intercepted communications that made Lila and Ramsey exchange stunned glances. The level of detail suggested someone intimately familiar with the rival factions threatening the Whitmore family. Ramsey's eyes narrowed. "How do we know this isn't a trap?" he asked, cautious but intrigued. Daniel's gaze held steady. "I've been tracking them for months. I've seen their patterns, their alliances, and their next moves. You're not alone in this, but you must act carefully. One misstep, and everything your family has built could collapse." Lila's heart raced as she processed the information. This stranger, this unexpected ally, was a potential game-changer. As Daniel laid out his plan, it became clear that the threat extended far beyond Alara. Shadowy networks, long-forgotten enemies, and strategic rivals were all intertwined. His knowledge was precise, his insight revealing vulnerabilities that Ramsey and Lila had overlooked. "We need to hit them where it hurts," Daniel explained, but subtly. "This isn't a fight of brute force, it's a chess game, and every move must be calculated." Lila's eyes met Ramsey's. "Can we trust him?" she asked quietly. "We don't have a choice," Ramsey replied. "But we proceed cautiously. One wrong move, and the threat returns with more fury than before." Together, they listened as Daniel explained how to uncover the rivals' next steps while maintaining secrecy within the household. Every suggestion was meticulous, emphasizing stealth, intelligence, and timing. Hours passed as they mapped out their plan, the mansion's quiet halls contrasting sharply with the flurry of plotting inside. Lila felt a strange mix of relief and unease. This ally could change everything, but the stakes had never been higher. Every move they made now had to account for potential betrayal, hidden agendas, and the shadow that had already proven patient and calculating. Finally, Daniel packed up his briefcase. "I will return when the time is right," he said. "For now, observe, gather evidence, and trust your instincts. You've already survived the first wave. The next one will be harder." As he left, Lila felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. The enemy was out there, the network was vast, but for the first time, they had an ally capable of turning the tide. Ramsey turned to Lila, voice low but determined. "We now have a weapon they didn't anticipate, knowledge. And we're going to use it carefully. No mistakes." Lila nodded, determination mixing with anxiety. "Together," she whispered. Their hands brushed, a silent promise that no shadow, no betrayal, no enemy would separate them again. The mansion, though peaceful in appearance, now thrummed with quiet vigilance. Shadows of the past still lingered, but with their unexpected ally, Ramsey and Lila were ready to confront the looming threat and reclaim control over a future that had been stolen from them. The first light of dawn crept across Queenstown, casting long shadows over the Whitmore mansion. Inside, Ramsey, Lila, and their unexpected ally, Daniel, pored over files, documents, and photographs collected from the mansion archives and Alara's records. Each page revealed the intricate web of the rival faction, their strategies, resources, and hidden operatives. But amidst the meticulous detail, Lila's sharp eyes caught something chilling, a map marking locations tied directly to the mansion itself, with one point circled ominously. "Look at this," Lila said, pointing to the map. "This location, it's the guest wing. Someone has been planning something here." Ramsey's brows knitted. "A breach," he murmured. "They know more than we anticipated. They've been watching not just the family, but the property itself." Daniel stepped closer, examining the circled area. "It's precise. Whoever did this knows the mansion's layout better than most of the staff. This isn't random. It's an inside job combined with surveillance from outside." A chill ran down Lila's spine. "We neutralized Alara, but this is bigger. Someone else is involved. Ramsay nodded, voice low and serious. We underestimated them. They've planned years in advance, patiently, and now we're seeing the first active move. The quiet mansion seemed suddenly vulnerable, its walls no longer a safe haven, but a potential trap. Daniel pulled out a folder containing intercepted communications. They're coordinating through encrypted channels, he explained. It's clear they have operatives close to the mansion, people who blend in, who appear loyal but are trained to observe, report, and act when necessary. If they're targeting the guest wing, the risk is immediate. Someone could strike tonight. Lila's mind raced. She realized the danger was not abstract anymore. It was tangible, immediate, and deadly. We need to secure the mansion, she said, determination in her voice. Every door, every window, every blind spot. No one enters or leaves without our knowledge. Ramsay nodded. Agreed. But we also need to lure them into a controlled environment. If we confront them blindly, we risk losing everything, including each other. As the day unfolded, they moved methodically, securing cameras, motion sensors, and hidden alarms throughout the mansion. Every staff member was questioned discreetly, and all entry points were reinforced. The mansion, which had once felt open and welcoming, now felt fortified, a fortress against unseen eyes. Yet beneath the meticulous preparations was the lingering fear that the enemy had already infiltrated deeper than they imagined. Late that evening, while Lila checked the guest wing, she noticed something odd, a faint scratch near a window frame that hadn't been there before. Her heart raced as she knelt to inspect it. They were here, she whispered to herself, the implications sinking in. Whoever was plotting against them had already tested the defenses, and the next move could come at any moment. Ramsay joined her, expression grim. This confirms it. They're watching us, probing weaknesses. We need to act before they make their move. Lila nodded, gripping his arm. But we can't panic. If we show fear, they win. We have the advantage. We just have to use it carefully. Daniel's voice cut through the tension. There's another element you need to consider. This faction has insiders in other locations tied to the family's business. Tonight isn't just a test. They could strike multiple points simultaneously. The mansion seemed to hold its breath as the trio finalized their plans. Hidden cameras were checked, security measures reinforced, and contingency plans reviewed. Each member understood the stakes. Any mistake could be fatal. Yet in the midst of fear and tension, a newfound determination emerged. They had faced betrayal, threats, and shadows of the past, but now they were ready to confront them head-on. As midnight approached, Lila glanced at Ramsay. Whatever happens tonight, she said quietly, we face it together. He nodded, gripping her hand. Together, he echoed. Outside, the snow glistened faintly under the moonlight, masking the danger that lurked in the shadows. Inside, the Whitmores and their ally braced for the night that could change everything, a night when secrets, threats, and shadows would collide. The mansion lay under a silver blanket of snow, the crisp New Zealand air whispering against the windows. Inside, Ramsay, Lila, and Daniel monitored the cameras, every flicker on the screens magnified by tension. Midnight had arrived, the hour when fear became tangible, when shadows moved with purpose. The mansion, fortified and prepared, felt like a fortress, but they knew even walls couldn't stop a determined enemy. Suddenly, a red light flashed on one of the surveillance monitors. Motion detected in the guest wing, the same area marked on the map they had discovered days earlier. Lila's heart pounded as she grabbed a flashlight and raced down the corridor with Ramsay close behind. They're here, she whispered, breath tight with fear and anticipation. Daniel followed, weapon in hand, ready to confront the intruders. They reached the guest wing and found signs of forced entry, a window latch broken, snow tracked across the polished floor. Lila's eyes narrowed, scanning the scene. Whoever had come through was precise, careful, and intent on bypassing most of the mansion's defenses. They know the layout, Ramsay muttered, voice low and dangerous. We underestimated them. Before they could react further, a shadow moved from the corner of the room. Alara's accomplice stepped into the dim light, a man with sharp features and cold eyes, carrying a small device designed to disable security cameras. Lila's stomach twisted. "So you're not working alone," she said, voice steady but charged with anger. The intruder smirked. "It's always been a team effort. You're too late to stop us." Ramsey stepped forward, voice calm but commanding. "This ends tonight." He lunged, tackling the intruder and wresting the device from his hands. A struggle ensued, rapid and intense, the flashlights bouncing off walls as shadows collided. Lila moved quickly, aiding her father, grabbing the man's arms and pulling him off balance. Daniel coordinated backup from the hallway, ensuring no other intruder slipped past. The intruder lashed out, but Ramsey's years of discipline and Daniel's strategic planning gave them the edge. Lila, fueled by fear and determination, landed a decisive push that sent him sprawling. Breathless, they pinned him to the floor. "You underestimated us," Ramsey said firmly, hand gripping the man's shoulder. Lila's glare was sharp. "And you overestimated your reach." The man struggled briefly, then went still, realizing he was trapped. Lila pulled out her phone, calling security and the authorities to ensure he would be removed safely. The mansion was quiet again, but the tension lingered like smoke, remnants of a battle fought in the shadows. Outside, the snow fell softly, masking the chaos that had erupted inside. As they surveyed the guest wing, Lila noticed a folder dropped by the intruder. She picked it up carefully. Inside were photographs, encrypted notes, and correspondence revealing more operatives, people they didn't yet know, spies embedded even in trusted spaces. "This isn't over," Daniel said, voice low and serious. "They've been planning for a long time. Tonight was just the first strike." Ramsey nodded, his expression hardened. "We've won the battle, but the war continues. Every move from now on must be precise, calculated. The enemy will regroup, and they will try again." Lila swallowed hard, adrenaline mixing with fear. "Then we stay ready. Together." Their hands met, a firm grip that spoke volumes, a promise of unity against the shadows that threatened their lives. The mansion returned to an uneasy calm. Outside, snow glittered under the moonlight, but inside, the Whitmores and Daniel understood the truth. Danger had come to their doorstep, tested their defenses, and survived only because they were united. The night had been a warning, a challenge, and a reminder that the shadows of the past were relentless, patient, and ruthless. The mansion was silent in the aftermath of the midnight siege, the snow outside muffling the chaos of the night. Inside, Ramsey, Lila, and Daniel pored over the evidence recovered from the intruder. Every photograph, document, and encrypted note pointed to a meticulous, calculated network, but one name kept appearing: Victor Hawk, a powerful businessman with connections to the Whitmore family dating back decades. His influence reached far beyond New Zealand, stretching into shadowy circles where loyalty was bought and betrayal was currency. "Victor Hawk," Ramsey muttered, tension in his voice. "He's been behind this all along. Every threat, every shadow, every insider." He trailed off, realizing the magnitude of what they were facing. Lila's eyes widened. "All this he planned it," she whispered. "All these years, the watchful eyes, the infiltration, it was him." Daniel nodded gravely. "Yes. And he's dangerous because he's patient. He waits, manipulates, and strikes with precision. Tonight was just a small part of his plan." Lila clenched her fists. "So every move we've seen, the insider, the intruders, it was all orchestrated. Every mistake we thought we made was part of his plan." Ramsey's expression hardened. "We've underestimated him. But now we know who we're facing. And knowing the enemy is half the battle." Daniel tapped the table, pointing to the intruder's notes. "Hawk isn't just targeting the mansion. He's trying to dismantle the Whitmore legacy. He has leverage inside other locations, in businesses, and in people you thought were loyal. We need to expose him publicly, but carefully. He's powerful enough to destroy reputations and fortunes in a single move." Lila's pulse raced as the implications sank in. Their battle was no longer just about the mansion, it was about survival, legacy, and truth. Ramsay stood, pacing with controlled intensity. We need to plan a counterstrike, a way to unmask him, without giving him time to react. If he senses we're close, he'll vanish into the shadows and strike from a new angle. Lila nodded. We use the evidence we have. The photographs, the infiltrators, the correspondence, we compile it all into something undeniable. Hours passed as they compiled the evidence, cross-referencing dates, names, and locations. Lila noticed a subtle pattern in Hawk's communications. Every move was timed with precision, coordinated with the lunar cycle, and often aligned with public events tied to the Whitmore family. He's meticulous, she whispered. Everything has a purpose. Nothing is random. Ramsay nodded, eyes dark with determination. And that means we have to be twice as meticulous. We can't leave anything to chance. By midnight, they were ready. Using the mansion's security system, the cameras, and controlled interactions with the staff, they set a trap designed to lure Victor Hawk into revealing himself. Every step had to be calculated. The timing of communication, the placement of documents, and even the movement of Lila and Ramsay through the mansion would signal to Hawk that his plan was compromised. Finally, a message arrived on the secure line, an invitation from Hawk himself, masked as a conciliatory gesture. Meet me at the lakeside estate. I believe we can come to an understanding. Lila's eyes narrowed. It's a trap, she said immediately. Daniel nodded. Exactly. But it's the bait we need. If we approach carefully, we can expose him publicly without giving him a chance to disappear. Ramsay looked at Lila, determination in his eyes. This is it. We face him directly, but on our terms. Together, we uncover the mastermind and reclaim what's ours. Lila nodded, a mixture of fear and resolve in her gaze. Together, she echoed. The mansion, bathed in moonlight, held its breath. The shadows of the past were about to collide with the truth, and nothing would ever be the same again. The icy winds of the Queenstown lakeside whipped against the trees, scattering snowflakes like shards of glass. Lila, Ramsay, and Daniel arrived cautiously, their sleek black SUV parked discreetly near the estate's perimeter. The invitation from Victor Hawk was clearly a trap, but a necessary one. Every step forward carried the weight of strategy, fear, and the knowledge that one mistake could cost them everything. The estate was grand, Gothic in architecture, with dimly lit windows reflecting on the icy lake. Victor Hawk stood waiting in the main hall, flanked by two imposing bodyguards. His sharp suit and calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the tension radiating from the Whitmores. As they approached, his smile was chilling, a perfect mask for a man who thrived on control and intimidation. Hawk's voice was smooth, almost casual. Ramsay, Lila, Daniel, I expected you to come. I admire your persistence, truly. But persistence alone will not save you from what's coming. Lila's eyes narrowed. We're not here to negotiate fear. We're here to uncover the truth. Ramsay's jaw tightened. And your game ends tonight. Hawk gestured to a table, inviting them inside. You want answers? You'll have them. But understand this. Every move you've made, every effort to stop me, has only confirmed your position as targets. You're playing a dangerous game, and I control the board. Daniel's gaze swept the room, noting exits, security, and vulnerabilities. We know your reach, he said quietly. But tonight you're cornered. The evidence we have is irrefutable, and your network is exposed. Hawk laughed softly, a sound that sent shivers down Lila's spine. Exposed? You underestimate me. Everything you think you know, it's only the surface. I've planned for decades, anticipating every contingency. Yet I must admit, your tenacity intrigues me. Perhaps this confrontation will reveal something useful. He leaned forward, voice lowering. Tell me, Lila, did you ever wonder why you were here? Why your life led you to me, to this moment? Lila's heart skipped. I don't care about your games, she said, voice steady, but charged with emotion. You will not harm my family, not tonight, not ever. Your secrets end here. Hawk's eyes flickered, a hint of curiosity mixed with amusement. Bold. I like that. But truth has many layers, and tonight you will peel them back. Are you ready to face what you've been avoiding? Suddenly, one of Hawk's bodyguards moved subtly toward the table. Daniel reacted instantly, stepping between them and blocking the path. The first spark of chaos erupted, tension crackling like static electricity. Ramsay seized the moment, slamming the folder of evidence onto the table, flipping documents toward Hawk and exposing intercepted communications, photographs of operatives and detailed plans. "This is your undoing," Ramsay said, voice resonant with authority. Hawk froze for a brief moment, scanning the evidence. His calm mask flickered, the first crack in his composed demeanor. "Impossible," he muttered. "How?" Lila leaned forward. "You underestimated us. You thought your shadows would remain hidden, your manipulations unnoticed. But every move was tracked, every operative identified. Your reign of fear ends now." For a moment, silence filled the room. Snow fell silently outside, masking the rapid heartbeat of confrontation within. Hawk studied them, calculating, assessing risk, and considering escape. Finally, he spoke, voice low and menacing. "You may have disrupted one layer, but the network remains. You think victory is yours? Patience has always been my ally. I will return." Lila's eyes narrowed. "We'll be ready," she said firmly. "You won't find an opening, and we will expose every last shadow." Ramsay placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "This ends for you, Hawk, or for him. The choice is yours." The mansion felt heavier, charged with anticipation. They had confronted the mastermind, uncovered the truth, and survived, but the war was not yet over. As they departed the lakeside estate, the night air sharp and biting, Daniel spoke quietly. "He's formidable. Tonight was a victory, yes, but it's temporary. Hawk will adapt, and he will strike again. You must prepare for what's coming." Lila's gaze met Ramsay's. "Then we stay together, alert and ready. Whatever he plans next, we face it as a family." Ramsay nodded, determination blazing. The shadows of the past were relentless, but together, they had proven they were stronger. The Queenstown sky was ablaze with the pale colors of dawn, snow swirling in the crisp morning air. Ramsay, Lila, and Daniel stood at the edge of the mansion's helipad, overlooking the lake where Victor Hawk's private yacht had been spotted. This was it, the final move, the ultimate confrontation. Every strategy, every hidden camera, every carefully orchestrated plan had led to this moment. There was no room for error, no margin for hesitation. Daniel spoke quietly, his voice firm. "We have one chance to corner him, expose him completely, and dismantle his network. Timing, precision, and unity are critical. He won't show mercy, and neither can we." Lila's hands clenched the folder containing the compiled evidence of every crime, betrayal, and manipulation. "We've come too far to fail now," she said. Ramsay's gaze was steady, eyes scanning the horizon. "Tonight, the shadows end. No one else will suffer because of him." They approached the yacht under the cover of snow and early light. Every step deliberates, silent, precise. Hawk's guards were alert, but the Whitmores and Daniel had planned for this. Hidden cameras, timed distractions, and careful coordination allowed them to move undetected. As they reached the main deck, Hawk emerged from the cabin, suit impeccable, expression unreadable. "Ramsay Whitmore," Hawk said smoothly, voice echoing over the water. "You've followed the breadcrumbs well. But it ends here. Everything you've fought for, it's mine to control." Lila stepped forward, holding the evidence folder high. "No, it's over for you. The world will know the truth, Hawk. Every shadow you hid in, every lie you spun, it's coming to light." Hawk's eyes flickered with the first hint of unease. He realized the meticulously gathered proof left him no wiggle room. Daniel's voice cut sharply across the deck. "Every accomplice, every insider, every operation you thought was hidden, documented, verified, and ready to be exposed. You can't escape accountability." For a moment, silence blanketed the scene. The yacht rocked gently on the icy lake, snowflakes swirling like confetti of fate. Hawk's bodyguards glanced at each other, uncertainty creeping in. Lila's pulse pounded in her ears. "This is your final gambit," she said, voice low and steady. "You can fight us, or you can answer for your actions. The choice is yours." Hawk finally raised his hands, realizing his carefully constructed empire of deception had been dismantled. "You outmaneuvered me," he admitted, voice tight. "I underestimated your resolve." Ramsay stepped forward, firm and unwavering. "And you won't have another chance. Justice isn't optional, it's inevitable." The authorities arrived shortly after, guided by the covert communication Daniel had set up earlier. Hawk and his operatives were taken into custody, and the evidence was catalogued for public exposure. The Whitmore mansion, once a target, was now secure. The shadows of the past that had haunted Ramsay and Lila were finally lifted. Back at the mansion, Lila sat by the window, snowflakes settling softly on the glass. "It's finally over," she whispered. Ramsay placed a hand on her shoulder. "The past may shape us, but it doesn't define us. We faced darkness, betrayal, and fear, and we survived because we were united." Daniel nodded, a faint smile crossing his face. "And sometimes the greatest power is in knowing the truth and using it wisely." The mansion was quiet, secure, and full of life once more. Lila and Ramsay shared a silent nod, bonded not just by blood, but by the trials they had survived together. The shadows of the past had been vanquished, but the story of courage, unity, and resilience would remain. Ramsay and Lila faced betrayal, danger, and shadows that threatened everything they loved, but they stood together. And now the question is, what would you do if your life was threatened by secrets and deception? Could you find the courage to confront the shadows and reclaim your destiny? Comment below, what would your final gambit be? Share your thoughts, your strategy, and your courage. And don't forget, the story isn't over until we hear from you. Image prompt: cinematic wide shot of mansion from outside at sunset, warm glow in windows, snowy landscape, storytelling moment emphasizing reflection and engagement.